We are recording.
This is Sobriety Shore. I like all my wares to be edible. I keep all my scars symmetrical. I was lost and found on a merry-go-round, and I've never felt so spiritual that I prayed for a miracle. Keep my friends closer than my enemies. All my songs have similar melodies. Caught a boy laughing uncontrollably, and I never felt so lyrical. I sat still under the waterfall, thinking, God, I don't wanna be high anymore. Just waiting to wash up on sobriety's shore. Every clever conversation turns to cotton. Bright ideas grow and die on the couch, and I was lost and found in the bathroom, just staring at my eyes and holding tight to my raffle prize. While the love of my life still cheats on me and hums me to sleep with jealousy, had me lost and found in the ocean sound, and I never felt so overwhelmed in a sea of music. You may lose your breath, but be careful not to drown. Oh God, I don't wanna be deep anymore. Just waiting to wash upon simplicity's shore. I've been coughing now for a year or two. Try to keep my hugs intentional. But I was lost and found on a barroom stool, and I've never looked so comical. I heard my dad say, I told you so. I had a bout with social anxiety. It caught me off guard when it lied to me. When we met in my Sunday best, I've never felt so underdressed. Who would have guessed my New Year's kiss? Oh God, I don't wanna be high anymore. Just waiting to wash up on sobriety's shore. Oh God, I don't wanna be high anymore. Just waiting to wash up on sobriety's shore.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Creative Businessmen. I'm Neil Hoover,
I'm Daniel Story.
and today we have the talented musician Jessie Dunks on with us.
Hey everybody.
How's it going?
It's going well, yeah.
Good. You want to just tell everyone a little about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I'm a singer-songwriter from Greensboro, North Carolina. I was actually born in Oak Ridge, so right outside of Greensboro.
Yeah.
But I've just lived here my whole life. So, I've been playing music since I was really little. I actually learned guitar so that I could accompany my songwriting. I was writing when I was writing music basically before I could actually write it down. I'd get my mom to write it down. I'd be like, okay, here it is, line by line.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I learned music to accompany that, and then I didn't really play out live until I'd say like 2017 is when I like actually went out to open mics and started doing that whole thing. And that's what I've been doing really ever since, is just like trying to play more live music. So
it's awesome. You have a really unique sound. What genre is your music? Like a folk type?
Yes, a lot of like folk influence. I would say like, I would say like indie folk is a good like genre. And then when I do solo stuff like this, especially with the acoustic, a lot of my songs just sound very singer-songwriter, and it would be like very true to that genre. So.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of some of Tyler Lyle's music.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool.
All I know is it's fucking good. I was sitting over here. I was like, yeah, I could ride to that. I got to put you on autoplay and ride my 2-hour ride home.
Especially right now, something relaxing.
Yeah, no, it was
true.
It was the words, the lyrics, like it was intricate. Like it was like that was the big thing too. Like you actually told. I felt like I was being told a story. So like that was cool.
Deep message. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to it. I'm gonna have to do it a couple of times. I think there's some stuff I probably missed, but it was awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, a lot of my songs used to be very deep to the point where you kind of like, this is a little hard to like follow along, you
know? Very cerebral. Yeah.
And then, it's acoustic music, and I was just playing mainly for me. And then when I started trying to play for other people is when it kind of tried to simplify some things and make it a little more catchy. And, we were talking about, like, y'all have had Bo James on the show, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. He actually referred us to you. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a great guy, and he's been helping me a lot. And that was one of the things he started pointing out and helped me through that stage of changing my sound a little bit. Just being like, make it like digestible in a way.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's in that song is like, I like all my words to be edible. Like I'm trying to be simple. I'm trying to whatever. Yeah. It really changed. A lot of my music really changed out of that super deep, mind consuming, like lyrics and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think you nailed it with that though, because you hit like all my words to be edible pretty early on, and I caught that, and I was like, oh shit, I like that.
Clever. Yeah, it's simple but complex.
Yeah, and it was early enough that I was like, oh shit. So
Thanks. I appreciate that.
That's good. Very well written. I like it.
Yes.
And
Thanks.
Delivered.
Yeah.
And received.
Received that in. Yeah.
So, success.
Yes,
awesome.
yes, definitely.
So
that one's not recorded yet, so hopefully someday soon.
Yeah.
How many songs have you written so far?
I don't have a number. I released a 5-track EP this time last year, and then a lot of that, like, trying to really promote it kind of died out because, like, it was kind of immediately consumed with the pandemic stuff, and I couldn't do, like, oh, here's a show, come buy merch and listen to the tracks and stuff like that. But yeah, so those were 5 songs that I kind of plucked from a lot of songs that I've written over the years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to give it a number. There's just like a lot of the ones even that I forget about that I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot about this like random acoustic song that I wrote that I love the lyrics to it, but I never play it live, So, but I mean, it's my passion is writing, so it's just kind of this. They're all over the place.
That's cool. How often do you write?
I would say I'm constantly writing like a single lyric.
Yeah.
And I've got this ongoing notes in my phone, and I'll just like put it in there. So one of the songs recently that I finished is like a compilation of so many lyrics that I've written over the past 3 years that I just didn't have a spot for them. And that kind of like, they just kind of morphed into a song. And so it's now like, okay, got it. And then there are lyrics that I've written, 2-3 years ago that are still in my phone that I'm like waiting for them to have their moment to be like, okay, they're in this song. Now that song's done, So it's kind of this continuation, which is, it's fun. Sometimes songs will come out in one sitting, and I'd say that happens maybe like once or twice a month if I'm playing every day like I usually do, if I can.
So how many hours a day do you practice typically?
Typically, I play like an hour a day.
Okay.
It's just for like my own enjoyment a lot of time.
Yeah.
I like to plug in, get a mic, and just kind of like jam for at least an hour. Lately, I've been working full time I was never full-time. So I work at Lowe's Foods.
Okay.
And I was never full-time because I was like, I'm playing music. I'm getting my income from live shows,
Yeah.
like trying to stay away from building a career outside of music.
Yeah.
And then when the lockdown happened and then the ongoing pandemic, I was like, no live music. I was like, I got to go full-time. So I started working full-time, and I haven't played as much.
Yeah.
But I definitely try to prioritize it because I don't want to fall into that for sure.
No, yeah, it's not good. And things should be back to normal by late spring, early summer,
Right.
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So before the pandemic, how often were you playing every day just to keep the blade sharp, you know?
Before the pandemic, there's a long period of time where I played about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Okay.
Writing and practicing covers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a good period of time where I was playing 2 hours a day. But on average, it's an hour. Like, I like to just at least hold my guitar for an hour a day. It's very comforting.
How often were you performing back then?
Once a week, for sure. As a show and or a performance on a radio show or something like that. And I was playing at at least 3 open mics for a while, cool. Especially during the summers where they're just really popping, everybody's there.
Yeah.
I was playing at a few spots around town.
Cool.
Probably 2 to 3 times a week. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to keep doing it to get better at it, right?
Yeah.
So you said you got started as a kid. What was your motivation to get into music and songwriting, or what inspired you?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because I've always thought about this because I see these, I remember writing back then, and I remember coming up with songs and stuff like that when I was probably 5 or 6. But then there were some videos I saw a couple years ago, home videos, we plugged in the old recorder and threw it up on the TV and the family was watching. And there are videos of me as a 3-year-old, I would say 3 or 4, playing with these I would make guitars out of cereal boxes, or have a cereal box and pretend I was playing guitar. And so they would put rubber bands on it, and I would just do that. And nobody else in my family played guitar.
Wow.
It was just this kind of I don't know, I was just drawn to it. I guess I would see it on TV or whatever. So that's it kind of has this weird, I don't remember seeing somebody and being I want to do that. It was just always me trying to make a guitar and play or find one, or finally my parents got me that first act acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And I don't know what age I was when they got me that. But from that point on, it was that playing at least 30 minutes to an hour and then writing and just writing and writing. And it's been like that for a long time.
Awesome. Did they have someone teach you lessons or anything, or are you self-taught completely?
Yes and no. I never went to lessons. But as I kind of grew up, there were people within our church who played, and they would come over to the house. And if they came over to the house, I'd bring out my guitar immediately. Show me how to play this chord, and then they'd show me. But a lot of it was from Ultimate Guitar Online. You just search a song, and it's got the chords, and you just, put the mouse over it, and it shows how to play it. And that's how I started playing.
So that's so awesome. When we were kids, we didn't have the internet. So, when we did anything, we were self-taught, or we had friends that could kind of do it and sort of teach you.
Right.
But today, kids have so much access to information. It's insane.
Yeah.
So you can go on YouTube and learn anything.
Mel Bay's chords book or something like that. That's the book I remember. Mel Bay, or I'm probably getting the name wrong.
I can picture what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had one of these chord books.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this fucking sucks.
I had Mel Bay.
It's a good one. Was it Mel Bay? Okay,
Mel
yes,
Bay.
it was. Yeah.
I had some friends that just showed me different chords.
My mom, my mom probably doesn't like that I say this, but I distinctly remember this. My mother, when I was younger, she's only some version of ignorant rednecks play guitar. My father played guitar, by the way, just so you know.
Nice.
So it was more of a stab at him than a general statement about other people.
Nice.
And it was definitely a joke told to a child, but I remember that part of it, and that was the direction that I was I want to learn guitar, and she's I think you should learn piano. And there was other influences of piano in my life, and I was yeah, let's do piano, right? And then her selling point, when she wasn't joking, was if you can play the piano, you can read every range of chord. You should be able to apply that to any instrument in theory.
Yeah.
Which was right. So that's how I learned how to read music.
That's awesome.
Was through, I think 5 or 6 years of piano through Miss Greason in Asheboro.
You need to get back into it.
Yeah. I've been frequenting the Steinway galleries.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
That's
awesome. Go from not playing for a decade to 6 figures on a piano. Who knows? I'm thinking about $600 on a piano is probably more likely, but
maybe buy a keyboard.
Yeah, keyboard. That's probably a better idea.
Start with that.
But I've got some guitars, and for me, they're like one of our business partners plays fairly regularly, daily for sure.
Nice.
Multiple times a day, and for me, they're functional artwork. I really love the beauty in the guitar and the craftsmanship and those things. So I've got them hanging and I've got them up. And for me, like that, I get something out of that. And then occasionally I'll pick them up and fumble my way through something.
Yeah.
But it's really nice for me, kind of like listening to you today. Like when my partner or someone else comes into the office, they'll pick the guitar. Hey, can I? And they pick the guitar up and start playing, and I get something out of it too.
Absolutely.
So I think, I find a lot of joy in music.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
You process the emotions. Like when you were singing earlier, like I know I could just like zone out and listen to some of your stuff, and it's gonna help. I'm gonna go through some shit, which I really like about music. If it can take you to that place.
Absolutely.
It's like it does something in our DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was vibing with you. I'm serious. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's really true that the effect that music has on the brain.
Yeah.
To be able to like process things and what it does for like the memory and stuff like that, like it's really amazing. And there are a lot of like, I really love like I was homeschooled, so I love learning on my own and studying on my own and just finding different like, because that's how I learned in school. And so I started learning for like a while, just got into this rabbit hole of like vibrations and what they do. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen like that there's like a YouTube video of it, and I don't know what the study is called, but they have like this plate and the like the
I was
sand
thinking
on
about
it.
that,
Yeah, and with the different vibrations, and it forms these patterns, and it's like, when we hear these vibrations or whatever, like what is that doing to the makeup of our body? Like it's got to be doing something.
It creates geometric patterns, which is really fascinating. So it's like you can see, if you can see what the music's doing, it's very complex, and geometry has a lot to do with our abstract ideas and stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
See if you can pull that up, Jesse. There's a video.
Okay.
Have you seen it? You know what she's talking about?
You talking about the plate? With
what is it called?
Dancing.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
I don't even know how to search it. I'm like sand vibrations.
There's a scientist that did a lot of studies with it.
Right.
But
I'll look for it.
Yeah.
I'll leave it on the line.
Yeah, because that stuff is really cool because you start thinking like, because there are some songs that you hear and you have like an emotional reaction to it and you're just like, oh, it's just emotions. But like, I think that there's like certain songs and vibrations and music and stuff like that, especially holding a guitar, and like it has like a physical effect on our bodies, and it's really cool. It's really helpful.
And even if you're playing music with someone else or something, and when you get synced up, there's something there it's almost magical.
Yeah. Music is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you play any music? I do.
I try to.
Nice.
Play the drum some and a little bit of guitar, but
nice.
Nothing to show off, just for personal experience. It's a good for me. Music is a really good creative outlet. If I just have some creative energy, just go up and play a little music. And I've got some friends that like to play too, and it's I don't know, if you're an artist, it's just fun to find different ways to express that.
Absolutely.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what I do. Like, I'm going to hear you do that. I'm going to get out of here. Just the one song you did earlier, and I'm going to get out of here and be like, I think I'm going to go play guitar. Because in my head, I think it's that easy. It's really not. Obviously, it takes, maybe a lifetime of just commitment to get to it.
Right.
But in my head, I see you do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to go do this. And I'll go in there, and then it takes 5 minutes. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you sit down and it's like, oh, it's not that good.
Yeah. What chord is that again?
You should go. You should go and buy a grand piano, though. That's still nice functional art for your house.
No, that was my thought process, and I can actually sit down in front of a piano,
And you would do it.
and
Yeah.
I can play. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
this is a terrible fact for me to say, but it was terrible for me because I got to where I hated bowling. But like, I moved to North Carolina. My father was in the military. We traveled everywhere, and I basically came here when I was 11. And one of my best friend, Mike, his father, runs the bowling alley and the local bowling alley, and so, you know, I ended up at the bowling alley, and it really frustrated me when I bowled that I got my ass beat. I mean, I bowled like a 40 the first time I ever bowled, right? So fast forward, I started bowling all the time. At 13, I won state champion in North Carolina. I finished 7th in internationals.
Nice.
And by 15, I quit bowling basically and hated it because I bowled all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, this sport fucking sucks. Excuse my French, but and I don't know, but that's kind of how it was with the piano. Like I got into it, and I really got into it. So the moral of the story is I can go bowl right now and probably beat 99% of everybody. If you're not a current, almost professional level bowler, and you bowl regularly, you're probably not going to beat me, right?
Yeah.
Because I grew up playing, and I haven't bowled. I bowled at our men's retreat last year. I bowled 3 games, and I haven't bowled. And prior to that, it had been maybe 5 or 6 years.
Really? Wow.
And I still, 219, 227, 208. Like it's good, right? Same thing with the piano. I can sit down because I played so much.
Yeah.
I can sit down in front of a piano, and I can fumble my way through some complex pieces. And then if I just try for if I even start to put a few days together or in a week, all of a sudden it starts coming back.
So it wouldn't take you long.
It wouldn't take long. I can
Yeah.
read sheet music, but it's like I'm kind of fumbling. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Yeah.
you kind of got it, but you just got to work it out. So I think if I got one and I really put some time into it, I'm not going to put any time into bowling. But a
Right.
piano, I think I would. I think I would
Yeah.
get something out of it.
Absolutely.
And I wish I
A
could
lot more
take
value
that
there.
and have that experience with that guitar because I can't. Even though I can read the chords, I can't really. The mechanics aren't
Right.
there.
Those
Yeah.
dexterity issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
So,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and it's weird trying to get back into stuff like that because there is a frustrating aspect of it.
It is.
But then, when you get into it, it definitely gives back with music.
Yeah.
I hate bowling because I'm not good at it.
I hate bowling as well, just so you know.
'Cause I'm like pretty, I love sports. I played basketball growing
I
up.
love basketball. I was going to say basketball's my shit. So.
And everybody thought that I was gonna grow up and keep playing basketball and play basketball through college and stuff like that. And I stopped because I was like, I started falling in love with music more. I'd always played music, like I said, since I was real little. But I started playing basketball when I was 5 as well. So it was kind of like these competing things. But I'm a very emotional person, so the emotion was in music.
Yeah.
And not as much in basketball, but
Right.
but yeah. So I love sports, but I suck at bowling, and so I hate it.
That's how I felt about it. Don't worry, you don't want to waste time getting good at bowling. Like and I say that this is so terrible to say because there's a lot of people that really genuinely enjoy it, but I hated it so bad. Like when I have friends that they want to go out and go hang out and go do something, and they're like they want to go bowl, I die a little bit on the inside because you don't want to be the guy that's like, I don't want to go bowling, because I'm the guy like. I'll go. We could go anywhere. We can go to Ostrich Farm. Go to look at sunflowers. Like you want to go heavy metal. Like I'm down. You need to Vegas the weekend? Let's go. You want to go to Cherokee? I'm down. Right? Like when I hear bowling, I'm like, oh god damn it.
You have to drink a lot.
Is there anything else we can go do, fellas? Is there anything else we can think of?
That's funny.
I think I found sort of what you're talking about. I don't know if it's the exact video or whatever.
It's
but
one
it
of- it's
does
the same
show.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's check it out here.
So when they create these vibrations with sound, it creates geometric patterns.
That is just crazy.
But
Is that the plates you were talking about?
This
Yeah.
is a smaller version of the one,
Yeah, we're probably thinking about the same one because
Yeah.
it's just a larger plate, but
but it's the same thing.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
yeah.
cool.
And you're probably only seeing, with this, you're seeing like a 2-dimensional version of what it's really doing. So it's going to be some kind
Yeah.
of three-dimensional
That's
vibration.
True. I never thought of that, but that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really neat though.
I mean, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, because I did this research on my own time, but you have to start being able to understand some really intense stuff to even know what they're talking about. So I kind of dropped the study, but like within the atom, there's like a single strand of vibration, and it holds the stuff together, and that's how, you know, things are created. And it's like if vibration and sound can change the way that sand moves, can change these atoms and their movement and everything like that. It's like, you know, that's what we're made up of, you know, like it's just what effect does it actually
maybe that's
having on us?
the visceral effect that we feel sometimes with music. Maybe that's the reason.
I guess.
Right.
Yeah, probably.
It helps me process emotion. I mean, you know,
Absolutely.
like I'll get into like this mindset, and sometimes it takes days, and I'll just listen to, you know, I don't know. Isn't it funny how the music kind of finds you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know.
We know, like, scientists don't really understand consciousness or how that works exactly, but also, you know, music is a wave. You know, it's a wave, and then a lot of things at the atomic level, the quantum level, are wave functions. There's some type of a wave function that, and there's different theories on what that is or how it works, but all particles are not really physical particles. They're fields of energy.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have, and then they interact with this wave function at different levels.
Yeah.
So it's got I'm sure music affects everything on that quantum level too,
Right.
and affects our brains in certain ways. So I'm sure there's probably a tremendous amount to it that we don't understand, and we haven't been able to really get into yet. I think eventually we'll probably understand it, but
Yeah, which is cool. It's like, you know, just playing piano or picking up a guitar, you're tapping into something that we don't even know the extent of it in a way. And it's like, you know, there's people who have spent their whole lifetime doing it, and they feel, you know, like they have all this music, and yet in a similar way, they're the same as somebody who's just picking up a guitar for the first time, and they're all, you know, like tapping into something that's still way bigger than everybody, you know?
Yeah.
what I think is fascinating about musicians is, musicians that do practice a lot, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they master an instrument. It's like that instrument has become a part of an extension of their body. Like it's really a part of them, so they don't have to think about it, and then they're able to freely express those feelings and emotions and whatever that music that's being produced through that instrument is really the music from them. You know, it's emanating from their body and translating, being expressed through that instrument, which is really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's almost, I believe that there will be a similar experience when we're able to put technology in our minds and control things. It'll be just like a more efficient instrument, you know.
Yeah.
But it'll probably be the same type of feeling.
Yeah.
You
That's
know.
a cool thought. That's awesome.
You guys got me thinking about like sound waves and music and frequencies, sort of as a way of maybe like, well, what you're saying, you're sort of talking around like being able to construct something with sound, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a subject that kind of comes up in science fiction for sure, with, well, usually in the form of destruction, like in Dune with using sound there and stuff, but in other ways, like it's almost, and in how music affects us, like from the inside, it's almost like we're being formed with it in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to really say it right, but it's something like, for music, for me, it's like, I never liked playing covers or anything. I just wanted to express whatever that how from the beyond is, you know, whatever it is. I can't really put my finger on what it is. And I'm terrible. I'm a terrible musician, but like that feeling is really good, you know, and I really liked that.
Yeah. Even if you're not good at it, it's still really just very pleasurable.
Absolutely.
Like I bought a drum set a year ago, and I've been playing some for about a year, and I really like it. Like when you can really sink into it and keep going with it, and it starts to it's almost like it just starts to do its own thing.
Yeah.
And then every time you sit down and do it again, something new happens.
Right.
And it's really fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I actually like that more than the guitar. I've played the guitar for years, just off and on, not really trying to become a guitarist, but just have that interest in it. But then when I got the drums, there's something different about that actually feels right.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. You don't have any children yet, do you?
No.
I've got young kids, and so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to force any instrument on them, as far as one specific one. So we've got drums. They each have guitars. I'm like, it's there. It's a decoration at this point for them. But when they want to pick it up and do it, like who knows when they're going to catch that passion or what it's going to be like. So I've got different instruments in the house basically. So, and right now it's a lot of banging. And there's definitely some there's strumming and there's stuff going on, but this is a chance for them to kind of figure out instead of me telling them, hey, you need to learn this.
Right.
So it's kind of been interesting.
That's funny. I did the same thing. So I'm kind of like him. I just love music. Mm-hmm. So I'll just buy instruments and just hang them up. And then hopefully someone comes over that can use it.
Exactly.
And
that's awesome.
That's pleasing, But, but also my thought is when I was a kid, I was poor, so I didn't have access to these things.
True.
And I really wish I would have, because I'm sure I would have played something.
Yeah.
But I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she loves music. And so I've got, guitars, I have drums. I bought her a little keyboard. I actually she just started music lessons last week.
Nice.
And a tambourine.
And she, yeah. and she really enjoyed it. Like good friend of mine, Scott Johnson, shout out to Scott.
Nice.
He's a really good dude, he's a classically trained musician. And he's great with kids. Like, he sit down with her, and he's got a program he does and uses bells and the keyboard and stuff.
Nice.
And she loved it. She had a lot of fun. So I was excited about that, And so I don't know if she'll do anything with it, but at least she has the opportunity, like you said.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's exposed to it.
Yep.
And if there's something there that clicks, then she's not going to miss it.
Yeah. Which is, that's definitely a really good opportunity for kids to have as well.
Yeah.
We had a piano in our house, and my sisters took lessons. And they would always, play, reading the sheet music and playing through it. But it's almost like that, them being forced to made them kind of fall out of love with it, which is a very common thing, which when you're talking about that, it's, if you fell out of love with, bowling, that's one thing, but it's a lot of people fall out of love with an instrument that they were forced to learn, where it's it didn't have to happen that way, so it's I watched that happen with my sisters, but I would sit down at the piano and do exactly what I did with guitar. It's just finding these notes and learning by ear kind of, and that was a journey within myself, if without being cheesy, whatever, but that was me. Nobody was telling me to, so I didn't have any, animosity towards it. I was this is just an extension of my body in a way, so.
And we talk about, Anil and I go down these rabbit holes, but I don't necessarily like that. I don't know how we teach, right? But the way we teach in general, as far as the education system, instruments, et cetera, there's not one way for everybody. And what I guess I kind of wish was learning certain things that I had to learn on piano because that was part of the week's curriculum was the equivalent of me wasting time in school learning about something that I don't think is going to apply because I'm not taking my life in that direction, right?
Right, yeah.
It was I hate novels. I read books on acquisition. I read all the time. Acquisition, business, finance, math stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
Reading a novel like a love story even. I would never do that.
Right.
Playing certain things on the piano were the equivalent of me reading a love story, right? Or any type of novel, right? It just didn't resonate with me. So the entire time I was learning it, it'd be like reading a book that you don't want to read, right? I'm learning something, I'm consuming something I don't want to consume.
Yeah.
So that was what it became for me. It was learning these pieces because the person teaching me wanted me to do that. And as a child, you don't have a whole lot of control. You have to do what they're saying, right?
Right, yeah.
Whereas I think I would have been a lot more passionate about it if I could have learned pieces based on artists that I admired or based on music that I really was drawn to.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is. So I just try to keep that in mind with my kids. Literally, my youngest son is into rainbows and unicorns. And I'm like, right now, right? He's 4, and I could push him to be out of that. Like I could make negative comments. I don't. Right. So I'm in the car, windows down. We're rocking to Llama Unicorn or, all kind, and I just keep it up. Like I'm not gonna whatever they're passionate about. It's not my job to kill their dreams. I just want to kind of, if I see them start to be passionate about something, I just want to kind of get behind it.
Absolutely.
And then as they shift, I don't get so like steadfast in a position that if they decide they're going to shift directions, I'm good to shift too. So
right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, with music, I think it could have been done a little differently. I would have been more attracted to it. But I think from a what's the proper word? Like I was going down a path to be classically trained, like very much on structure and proper positioning.
Yeah.
And body, like like your posture while you're playing, like all these things that really I just kind of wanted to be. Sounds bad, but like I picture like the guy that's smoking, that's drinking, that's pouring his soul into the piano, like really playing out his demons and all his stuff, and it's coming out in the music. Like that's what I pictured.
Oh yeah.
And instead, it was very, very different.
Daniel, I think you hit something kind of interesting there when you started off talking about like how something's taught. I bet you a lot of those things maybe you didn't like could have been introduced to you in a different way.
Yeah.
Where you could have been like, what's this book over here? What's that?
Oh, 100%.
Something totally different than like the same thing. At saxophone, they tried for years. I wasn't practicing. I wasn't interested, but I felt like I had to do it. My parents were really hard on me, but it was like one of the few social times at school where it was okay, where it wasn't too hard. But it just didn't stick. Later on, I got a guitar mowing lawns, and that took still like a decade or two to get into and all that. But like what you're talking about with teaching, just anything I was really interested in, it was just laying around. Books were laying around, so eventually I got curious and cracked them open and just kind of looked at them. I'd hear my parents talking about it, but they weren't forcing ideas on me and stuff like that, which was nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that sucks. They made you do that stuff.
Yeah, they did it out of love, and I mean, and I don't. And we all learn differently. So, like, for me, it's like, and maybe the way I'm teaching my children, they're going to look back and go, I wish you'd have done it this way. And so, but I just try to be supportive based on what direction they want to go in. Like, it's not my job to dictate who they become. It's my job to kind of keep them within some parameters.
Right.
I'm fine with them bouncing all around, right? It's going to ebb and flow, but I just need to keep some level of a border to keep them in a general direction.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
makes sense.
Safety.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. It's just my job to get you to a certain point in life and give you the tools you need to be able to, from that point, take it to where you're going to take it.
Yeah.
So I just got to keep you're my responsibility to that point. I don't think it's 18. I think each child's different. My 10-year-old, I think I treat him like he's a young teenager, and he makes a lot of his own decisions, and I let him. And I think probably by 13, he's even now, if he makes a decision that I don't agree with, I allow it to happen sometimes, and we talk through it, and I let him make the decision, and he makes a different one, and I let him make the decision because it's a great way to learn. Like, this way, if he has a consequence, right, not from me, from life, him and I have something to discuss. Like, hey, I understand. This is what happened. This is why I was telling you I didn't think that this would work, but it creates this, because I protect my kids, but I don't overly shelter them. Like, I'm giving them an opportunity to fail in a controlled environment. So who knows?
And parenting is probably the hardest job. I mean,
I can only get credit for this much. Like literally, like Jessica takes care of them. I'd say 95%. Like I kill it during my 5%. Like I'm dad of the year in those moments, and I try,
Absolutely.
But it's really easy to do that when that's not your. It's really easy for me to do that because I know they only get a portion of my focus.
Yeah.
Right.
So while I'm with them, I make sure they get my attention.
Absolutely.
You set a lot of structure for them, though.
I do.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And parenting is one of those things that you never really know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving.
I think, you talk about these things and you go, "What's your goal?" Like I just want to be a good father, whatever that means.
Yeah. Want my kid to be safe.
Yeah, safe, fed, protected.
Have
I want them to have opportunity.
Yep.
And I want them to fail. I want them to experience life. I want them to do those things, but just in somewhat of a controlled way.
Yeah.
So, other than that,
you want to have a net under them if they fall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like letting them live life at the trampoline, but I got the net around them.
That's right.
So, not saying they're not going to break an arm, but they're not falling off the trampoline.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
So,
Very true.
either way. So, what kind of places? I know you said you did. Pre the shutdown, the pandemic, etc. You were doing like live music at least once a week and some other things.
Yeah.
Did you ever do like private venues, like private events, like weddings or anything like that, or did you, or maybe like other private events like for people's gatherings and stuff like that, or is it pretty much?
Well, I did a lot of weddings, like throughout the years. I've done a lot of weddings, just acoustic, solo. It's nice, whatever. And those are always fun. I love weddings.
Yeah.
I did like a few private events, and they're kind of strange, kind of like, my comfort spot was like performing solo in front of a crowd, say like a coffee shop or a bar type atmosphere. That was like the comfort zone. And so when I started like performing for like different events and things like that, it kind of, there would be times when I was really thrown off. Or when I started doing radio shows and podcasts, I was like, it was more uncomfortable because I was like, this isn't what I'm used to,
Yeah.
And there's a time, so I auditioned for The Voice, and they had a studio, like, because they have so many different, like, whatever. But they, like, a producer had reached out to, like, a lot of the Greensboro artists and was just like, if you want to audition, come here. So I, like, went in, and it was, like, a single mic stand. They plugged in my guitar. Nobody, like, talked. Like, really, like, nobody looked at me. Nobody talked at all, whatever. There were bright lights. They were, like, sitting behind. I didn't really see the people. They were sitting behind their laptops, whatever. So I started, like, singing. I had, like, obvious nerves in my voice. Like, you just tell, whatever. And I sang through, like, a part of a song, and they were like, can you sing a different song? And I was like, sure. So I started singing a different song. And then they're kind of, like, stopped me throughout, like, maybe, like, midway through. And they're like, yeah, it's a no from us, but thanks. And then unplugged me and started, like, ushering me out, whatever. And I was like, threw me off so bad. But right before I left, like, the main lady, which, like, I heard from other people, like, that was all they were saying to people. Like, they weren't having conversations at all. But right before I left, she stopped and she goes, just, like, for your own growth, she's like, go perform in some weird places. Like, go perform at some things that you would not usually take them up on, places that makes you uncomfortable, X, Y, and Z. And then they, like, ushered me out, and I, like, left. And I talked to a few people, and they're like, nobody talked to me. Nobody said anything to me, whatever. And so I kind of took that as, like, just a little, like, nugget of advice that she didn't have to tell me. But it was really, really helpful. And so I did perform in some weird places, some weird events, block parties or get-togethers that were pretty, like, weird. just weird. And I botched some of them, like, real bad. I mean, like, just, like, you want to put it out of your memory kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, she was right. Like, if I didn't do those kinds of things, like, I would not, you don't get anywhere, like, if you stay in that comfort. And I didn't necessarily realize that until I was so uncomfortable in that moment.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like the spectrum of performances that I have done. I'm still getting used to, like, the virtual stuff, obviously. It's just a little, like, I mean, we were talking about, like, vibrations and stuff like that, and there's a different connection that happens when you're physically in a room with people.
Yeah.
And that's why people miss playing live so much, is because it's not just not the same. It's like, oh, I wish that there were people here. It's physically not the same, and your brain
because we're syncing. Everybody's syncing to the music.
Yeah, and there's studies.
You're controlling
on that.
the room. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's studies on the way that brains literally, those wavelengths start getting in sync, and you can communicate with people better in person. And so, like, the live streaming stuff, I haven't gotten to the point where it, I can perform comfortably. But yeah, so it kind of was that kind of took me on, like, a different path of trying to perform in some different atmospheres and stuff like that. So
like with acting or stand-up comedy, stuff like that, they've done a lot of studies that show that when that's happening, when that's being performed, the audience, the mirror neurons in our brains are syncing with that person. and that's empathy. So we're experiencing some form of empathy with each other, and I'm sure it's the same with a musician. As when the musician's performing, all these mirror neurons and all these people are syncing up, and if you could scan all of their brains, they would probably look very similar. Like the activity would look, and even in your brain, it would all look real similar.
Right, which is just crazy to me.
It is.
It's really amazing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I miss live music so much.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
like we had some things scheduled, and they got canceled. It's still pissing me off a little bit. It's like I get it, and I get it, and I get it, but at the same point, I don't care. I'm selfish.
But I'm tired of it.
I'm tired.
That's exactly where I'm at right now. I'm like, I get it. I'm not going to argue with nobody. I'm just sick of it.
It's just exhausting. Yeah. God,
we had, and I listen to like from one extreme to the other, right? Like literally, I can listen to classical music, and I can listen to heavy metal, and I can listen to gangster rap, and I can listen to like folk. I mean, I'm an appreciator of things, right? I can find beauty in just about anything.
Yeah.
So like, we had a comedy special scheduled, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And I had In This Moment. I don't know if you know who In This Moment is or not, but it's like heavy metal, death scream. It's pretty awesome. But anyway, because sometimes I need that too. And I had those things. Those were like up and coming. They were around the same time. And then they got canceled, and I was just like, oh. And then we had 2 or 3 other little things we were going to go do, some live music events. They got canceled, and I was just like, this is really starting to suck.
And all the random stuff we would do anyway.
Yeah, true.
You just can't do anything.
Yeah, you just can't. And so I'm so and I know there's a lot of artists out there that are looking for it. And I know comedy's is starting, like there's some open mics, but they're very limited.
Yeah.
So like I think everybody, and there's some stuff with music going on, but it's very limited.
Absolutely.
And I feel like everybody, like there's this pent up demand. And so I think everybody, as soon as, is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? I have no idea. But as soon as like things start going back to normal, I can't wait. I think people are going to be out like in droves looking to consume.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in high demand very soon. You're going to have to go back part time at Lowe's or no time at Lowe's.
Yeah, no, that would be really exciting. Also, like the music like right at the beginning of the lockdown, I started playing with Bo. He started playing bass with like my original songs, and we got these 2 other guys from Guitar Center. They teach drums and electric guitar, and we got them to start playing with us.
Nice.
And we would go to play out in Bo's shed once a week, and we started putting the set together. We started I had songs that I hadn't even really touched. Like I was like, yeah, this is the progression and the lyrics, but it's just one of the ones I have on my recorded on my phone.
Yeah.
And we started messing with them, giving them a different chorus. They've got great minds for structures of songs. And so we've got all this awesome music. Like it's some of like the best songs I think I've written, and nobody's heard it yet. And we've been practicing since like April. Well, yeah, April or around that time, I think.
Okay.
And it's awesome. And it's like,
well, so as soon as things open up, you guys can go perform.
Right. And it would be like this full band, like a well-rehearsed set. And
very cool.
I'm super excited for it. So I think like hopefully when things do open back up and there's a demand for it, and booking a show you wouldn't have to necessarily like beg. I wouldn't think. It's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for it for sure.
Well, you and Bo both have good names, and at least in the local scene for sure.
True, yeah. We've been saying that. So all the guys shave their heads at the same time, like a classic guy thing. They're just like, oh, I've got this nice head of hair, and then they just shave it off. And so we're like, it's Jessie Dunks and the 3 monks, and that's what we started saying. And that's what we call ourselves. I mean, nobody else has heard our stuff, so it's just us. But yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Cool. We'll have to go check you guys out when it's possible.
Hopefully.
Now, and I noticed you were saying you had recorded some stuff last year. Is any of that stuff available online? Is that through your Instagram or?
Yeah. So that EP is available. ITunes? Yeah, it's on iTunes and Spotify primarily, and then it's a few other little places, but those are like the
probably Amazon too, right?
Yeah, because when you distribute through, I think it's through DistroKid that I did the EP, so it goes to all those streaming platforms.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It was a fun project because I had never recorded before, and that's one of the things that Bo really helped me with. We recorded at Lazy Dog Recordings with our friend Jeff, and I had no idea. I was like, I hadn't even played with a band like that, so recording it was just kind of a whole new experience for me. And listening back now, it's like a year later from the release, I like listen and I'm like, you know, I just the different like strum patterns or different things that I do vocally, it seems immature even just a year later. Wow. And so I've been like debating. I'm like, I mean, yeah, it's good, and that's why I'm excited for this new stuff, for us to be able to record it whenever that happens. But yeah, like it's still like I think it was a milestone with my music was to record and just get those out there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if we re-record them, you know, or remix them or master them or whatever, then we can do that. But I think it was super important to put a stamp on it and put it out.
Yeah.
Just because it was such a struggle for me to even record. Because like I said, I was used to playing in front of people, and then all of a sudden it's just a mic and, you know, a mic guard, and I don't see anybody in headphones. And it's like, it didn't have the same, it didn't have the same, even the tone in my voice is a little bit different just because it's not there. A lot of the emotion was taken out because I didn't know how to channel it, you know? So it was a good learning process for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. But yeah.
As a musician and stuff like that, and figuring like you're going to hopefully, preferably like to base your livelihood on being a musician for the rest of your life and stuff like that. How do you deal with like the pressures of being a musician, being able to negotiate the world of business in that industry to maybe one day hopefully be able to, you know, make a living doing that kind of stuff? So what has been your journey with that kind of thing?
So with that kind of thing, I mean, like kind of how we talked a little bit earlier about like finding a passion for business within music, and then trying to find this middle ground between like my passion for just playing and writing music. Hopefully, you know, like I would love to do a lot of the business side myself because it's fun. Like there's a fun side to it, learning the marketing and the different things like that. But I found even more clearly in recent months that you really do need like a team for any type of like business thing like that, especially in the music industry, because there is so much that you're like not prepared for when you step into it. So like I definitely like played my music, learned to write songs that people could appreciate, and then had that milestone of like recording that EP and being like, okay, this is something I've never done before, but it's obviously essential to selling music, you know?
Right.
And so after that, I would watch all these YouTube videos and listen to podcasts about the music industry, you know, bought a book, like just reading, consuming all that stuff. And, you know, like have like the knowledge for it is all the way up here, like for like whatever. But like the actually applying it is like all the way down here. And so what I'm hoping to do in the next step of like my role in the actual music industry is to do another like professional recording, and then set up like a business plan to push that music out, marketing stuff, whether that be like through like, you know, ads or music videos or like whatever, and set that up and follow it, you know, play by play in a way. And just even if it's real low budget, even if it's not what I had like in mind ideally, I can only usually learn by putting my hands to it, because it's like this, like I said, all that reading, all that watching, all that listening, the knowledge is up here, but I can't like execute it up here because I've never done it yet. So it's like, it definitely takes like just trying to at least do it once, you know, and then apply more of that knowledge. And like I told Bo, because he had all that stuff in mind when I recorded the 5-song EP, and he was like, so we need to do X, Y, and Z and push it out here and blah, blah. And I just like, I didn't get it. It didn't click. Right. And then after we put it out and we started making more music, it clicked all of a sudden. And I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, if you apply this marketing method to this like this single that we haven't put out yet, then yeah, it's going to do much better. But like, I couldn't grasp that until I had actually recorded a song and tried to push it out. And so it's just kind of this like back and forth of like applying knowledge and trying to find that balance. And I think that maybe when live music is a thing again, because it feeds the passion for it. And I think a lot of people's passion for it is just discouraged right now. Yeah. So I think if a little more like playing live to get that back up, and then recording and then applying that knowledge and just practicing, just doing that over and over again.
Right.
I think it will be a really good, like from there, just kind of get more momentum. And eventually, I mean, I do want to make my money off of music, but I don't know the timeline for that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
We need to introduce you to Mickey Shiloh. She's a really talented artist out in San Francisco. Nice. She was on the podcast a few months ago.
Cool.
And she does. She helps a lot of artists get up and running. I guess she owns a production company, or maybe a couple of them. And
nice.
She's done really well.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's that's a really like cool thing, like people who can do that and help people, because they have done the hands-on recording and releasing and, you know, pushing it out there. But it's definitely like hard to start it off by yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've learned so much even in this past year, like where nothing was really like happening, just learning about like just revisiting moments that I've had in the past, and just even like learning more from those situations, and being like, you know, just keep learning and gleaning from those situations that had happened in the past. Yeah. And so it's just kind of at this like weird middle ground of like nothing's happening yet, but I feel more prepared, but it's like, but at the same time it's gonna feel like I'm starting all over again, you know? So it's just, it's kind of a weird mess at this point.
For sure.
But you're still young too, which is great. So you've got, it's a big advantage.
Absolutely.
How old are you?
I'll be 25 this year.
Oh.
Yeah, so
plenty
of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Time to conquer the world.
Oh, yeah.
My life was chaos at 25. It was awesome. I was killing it, but it was also chaotic. Like,
it took a few years to calm you down.
Yeah, it took a while. 30 was a blessing. 30, I finally, like, I think the testosterone, adrenaline, all those levels came down into reality, like into a manageable reality, and I was able to, like, breathe.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think I breathed properly from, like, 13 to 30. Definitely 20, 25 was rocky.
How old were you when I met you when you were probably like 18 or 19, but I started hanging out with you when you were probably about 21.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You met me originally. That property I was looking at, I think I was 18. I bought the first property. I was probably in that getting ready to be 19 kind of phase. Yeah.
I mean, you were, you definitely had that wild streak in you.
Oh yeah.
That crazy, intense. But you had a good head on your shoulders.
No, I did.
So, yeah.
I would love to write a song.
You were just excessive.
I was. Yes, I was. I would love to write a song or have a song written that describes some of my feelings sometimes. Like he was saying, so like, I'm attracted to the evil in your beauty. I don't know. Like that comes up. Like there's something about the toxic part of positive things that I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? I don't know how to explain it.
No, that's a cool thought. Absolutely.
It does make sense.
The thorns on the rose.
Well, how good is good if you don't have something to base it off of? It bebecomes cardboard, gray.
So we need. I don't know what you charge to write a song, but I'm going to talk about some feelings. I need you to help put it to paper. We'll figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that sparks. I mean, even I love, and that's what I was saying. Like the notes on my phone, it's stuff like that. You write it down.
Yeah.
It stays in your mind, and then soon there's like a thought that kind of accompanies it. And that, at least that's what it looks like for me to write songs. You know, it's like this one sentence. And you're like, that just hits the spot, you know? And it might sit there for a year, but then like the songs are worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're talking about like 25 was chaotic, but for me, I'm like, this has been like 24, 25 has been one of the more like calmer, like I can finally catch my breath kind of things. Because I just like throughout, you know, later teenage years, it was so bad. And the majority of my songs are about that time, because it was just like, it wrecked me. And then I've just been recovering. And I told someone recently, I was like, this feels like the first time in my life where I'm not recovering. Like I'm recovered. And if something happens, I know how to recover.
Right.
But I'm not recovering from things that happened to me when I was 16. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just...
This is that women mature faster than men, I think. At 16, you were feeling like I was at 25, I guess. I don't know.
That might be true.
That's funny.
I thought I was real grown at 16, I'll tell you that.
I was going to ask about the writing process. I'm glad you kind of brought that up.
Yeah.
So for you, do you find like it's important for writing? Does it just kind of come to you like in this natural way, or do you ever have to like kind of force it, because it's, like that?
Well, I think, so Ed Sheeran says something cool about songwriting. He says it's like, at first it's like a dirty tap water. You have to turn it on and let it all flow out until you get to like the clear water. Right. And he's like, if you don't write songs fully and you're always waiting until the water is clear, you're going to have a lot of unfinished songs, you know? And so I've written some bad songs. Like they just, I listen back and I'm like, I'm so glad nobody else ever heard that. But it was necessary to write it so that I could get to the point where I can write a little like easier and have stuff that is good material quicker. Yeah. But then also there have been times where it's like, because I love writing, so I write a lot of songs a lot of the time. And so it's kind of at the point where I like to try to force myself to write a song, because if I do, it all comes out, in a flow of consciousness in a way. But there's sometimes, and it's my favorite moments, it's all of a sudden all of the words will be there. And it's like kind of this overwhelming, all of a sudden I just have all of the words and all of the concept up, like kind of almost in this like, it's a visual. I see them like in front of me. And so I've got to immediately sit down and pick them out and find out, put this puzzle piece together and see how the song fits together. And I'll write those songs in a day. And they're my favorite because I'll write them and then I can listen to them and like hear it, and hear what was in my subconscious that I was seeing and putting it on paper. And like there is this prime example of that was there's a song that I wrote about my girlfriend Bella, and I woke up and I opened my eyes and I saw all the words and I was like, what is this, And then this melody starts coming and whatever, and I jump up and I grab my guitar and I tuned it to open C, because that way you can just kind of let it kind of just sit in the background while you figure all this out. And so it was these words. It said, I would rather you be happy than for me to be happy with you. And I would rather you not be lonely than for me to be alone with you. And it just started coming together, and it just came out in one. I just picked all these words that I was seeing and just put it all together. And it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. That's and awesome. It's happened. Wow. That's happened a few times. And I just say it's like those lucky, like lightning strikes you kind of moments. But otherwise, you really do have to put the practice in. But those moments when it's all there, it's totally worth it. It's like surreal. It's those moments where you do feel so much emotion coming out, and it's like your body's way of being like, hey, let's process this, right now. So it's an amazing process for sure.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I do a lot of writing myself. Most of it's comedy right now, but I found that no matter what type of writing you do, you just have to sit down and do it. Because a lot of times you don't feel inspired to write, or you don't feel that creative drive. But if you just sit down and start doing it, you'll get in that zone. You'll reach that.
Absolutely.
You'll find that place, and then you'll start having the ideas. And it just takes sitting down and starting the process.
Yeah.
And usually within like 15 minutes, I've already started to get ideas flowing.
Yeah.
And I think, we've talked about it some, but ideas are a really strange thing anyway. It's like they're not, like I don't think of my ideas as my ideas. I think that we all share the same ideas. They're just like, because I feel like we're all this somehow we're like this collective consciousness, and our ideas that we have are just a combination of probably millions, thousands or millions of other things that we've experienced or been exposed to or heard. And then occasionally, like a really clear idea will just get produced by your brain. That's a result of all those experiences, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that too. And then sometimes him and I will be completely different directions, doing different things. And I see him regularly. Obviously, we're partners. We see each other all the time. We spend a considerable amount of time together and on the phone, and that's probably what leads to what I'm getting ready to say. There are periods though where we've deviated for whatever reason. We're in two different, divide and conquer kind of deal, and we'll link back up. And during our talks, it's funny that he will have been working on something, and I will have been working on something completely different, and we have a conversation, and it overlaps.
Yeah.
It's so weird sometimes because because you just don't know why those thoughts and those things come together, and it's kind of like you're saying about like you have these ideas, you feel like maybe it's contributed to by so much of your environment of people that came before you,
right?
And I feel a lot of that sometimes. It seems almost like predestined sometimes. Like it's just like
very true.
Serendipity or like kismet, are the words we have for that kind of stuff. It happens sometimes. Like on the set of Kill Giggles, there was like days where it was just like, we're just rolling, whatever the best roll is, but every time,
Yeah.
And it seems like some people have they have better expressive instruments to get those ideas out.
Yeah.
But I think the ideas come from everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All parts.
It's kind of like one of those
society.
things where it's like you can't dream up an original face. It's all like your subconscious, like picking out faces of strangers and stuff like that. Because you can't, like, your subconscious can't just come up with a face that you've never like seen before, if that makes sense. So all these like strangers or people you don't recognize in your dreams are actually just you walking past someone on the street, your brain just picks it up, whatever.
That's so cool.
Or it could be multiple people that have been combined.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, it's kind of like
it's like the girl in the red dress in Neo and the Matrix.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You think that's air you're breathing?
That's funny. No, that's true. That's a good point, though. I didn't think about that. Now that you say that, I'm sitting here going, how would I draw on a unique face? And I don't know that I could. Because it would be based on things we've seen.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. You only know what you know, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, your brain like forms a thought, but it's made up of all these things that maybe you've taken in kind of subconsciously, a phrase or a moment that you experienced, and your subconscious is like, okay, this solidifies this belief in you. It's like, that's stuff that I love digging into, is like, the psychology of what our brains do, and we're told something at a young age, and then you go through a situation at an older age, and it solidifies something that was told to you 10 years ago, and you don't recognize that, and it forms beliefs and thoughts that you agree with, and it's really just all these, however many things that have happened to you or you've taken in subconsciously, and it's wild.
And to expound on that idea too, I've put a lot of thought into just what life is and what we are, and we don't really know, but it seems to me that all life is one organism. And there's certainly a lot of information coded in our DNA as well that we don't understand, that gives us certain instincts and certain behaviors. So there's possibly, or it's possible that some of our ideas and things we experience, maybe dreams, some of the stuff that we output is actually stuff that's deeply seated in our DNA. Like maybe we didn't experience it in this lifetime. It came from somewhere earlier in humanity.
Right.
So that's a possibility too. But other than that, we're basically just, we don't output anything that hasn't been input into us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
Deep.
We like philosophy on this channel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. Very cool.
Well, it's been awesome having you on the show.
Yeah.
Do you have any, do you have anything coming up? Any shows or anything, or new podcast, new channels?
I'm hoping to do a live performance, like what's it called? Live streaming performance. Hopefully soon with the guys, so that everybody can kind of see what we've been working on. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but yeah, that's something that I'm planning on. So
very cool.
Yeah, that's about it right now. I'm trying to, like I said, I work full time now, but a lot of that money is going to be going towards recording. So I'd love to record like the song that I played for y'all. That one's super special to me, and record those and put them out there. I think it'll be another like milestone for the creative, music journey, I guess, that I've been on.
Do you tell people how they can find you? Social media, website, YouTube?
Yeah, so I do like social media primarily out of Instagram and Facebook at Jessie Dunks. On Instagram, it's Jessie_Dunks, as we found out today. And on YouTube, it's Jessie Dunks. I put a lot of, I have a few covers up there, and some songs, some different, like, I was doing some writing prompts and stuff like that over the lockdown. So there's some fun content on there. I did the song Thanksgiving Bop. It's so funny. So the couple years.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the past couple years. Yeah. So I did it as a dare. Somebody dared me to write a Thanksgiving song. So I did this, like, Thanksgiving Bop. It's like a track on a MIDI track. It's all just... It's a terrible like recording, but it's funny, and it's kind of a parody song. And then I did an acoustic version of it this past year. I said that next year I'll do like a punk rock version of it. So cool. Get ready for that next year.
Awesome.
But yeah.
And they can also follow you on Spotify, Amazon, and iTunes.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, my EP Hiccups is on there. 5 original songs recorded at Lazy Dog Recordings in Greensboro. So all that's on there. Stream it. It's good stuff. I've heard it's great car music. So if y'all want to give it a try, absolutely.
So guys, be sure to follow Jessie Dunks, and thank you for watching the episode. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
See ya.